In the past 4 months, companies big and small have come forward with their commitment to do better with diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the things we've done at PI is hold roundtable discussions with these members of our community, and in these conversations, many business executives have expressed anxiety about how to best address these issues. So with this video, we'd like to give you 5 tips on how to enable your inclusion and equity efforts to have lasting impact. And to help us out, we brought along one of our roundtable facilitators, Love.
My name is Love Odi Kamui, and I'm founder and CEO of Unsiloed.
Love has been working in this space for decades, and her business's goal is to help clients make their workplaces psychologically safe and inclusive. Let's get into tip number 1. Change your dialogues. You should start having internal discussions about diversity and inclusion, but they need to look much different now than they did before.
The old way of doing it was there was an incident and it was often a town hall approach. Someone got up and made a declaratory statement and then also said that this doesn't align with our values and things need to be different.
Love goes on to say that this approach is outdated. A dialogue needs to be an active exchange of ideas and not a town hall. It means leaving echo chambers, splitting into diverse, conversational groups, and most importantly, bringing in professionals who can facilitate these conversations and move the ideas towards action. If you're looking for a good question to help further these dialogues, try having everyone approach the problem through an accountability lens.
Calling them in to lean towards this moment of change and to ask them, what does change look like and how will you be involved in that change and how will you be accountable for future action?
Tip number 2, make sure your goals are accountable.
Accountability is nothing new within the organizational world. Leaders hold themselves accountable for the things that are important for them all the time, and this is no different.
Just as you would with revenue objectives, be specific with your inclusion goals. This is the only way to know if your efforts are ultimately successful. Attach it to a metric and a time frame.
It's one thing to say inclusion is important and we value you and we value people. However, if there isn't a clear resource allocation to make things right, then there needs to be a lot more discussion about what that commitment looks like.
Tip number 3, check your hiring process for affinity bias. When evaluating candidates, you should have a bulletproof process in place that focuses on the job to be done, how the candidate's behavior and background fit that job, and how the candidate will add to your culture. That's it. Nothing should be about personal preferences, what people socially like or dislike, or who you have common interests with. Love even argues that this extends to referral hiring too.
People generally will bring in people from who they know, like, and trust. You are really just incentivizing people bringing in the same type of people because we find it easy to make connections with people who are very similar to us.
If you have a referral program in place, how can you use it to incentivize people to bring in candidates who are different from themselves?
It's not hard. It's in the same way that companies establish marketing strategies to find customers that will use their products and services.
Tip number 4, unsilo your approach to equity and inclusion. Here's a scenario that organizations grapple with all the time when trying to find consultants. They say something like,
I need to save the reputation of my organization. I need to appear that I did the right thing and I said the right thing.
But of course, looking good can't be the goal of your organization. If that's the desired outcome, any equity and inclusion efforts are dead on arrival. If you don't have an inclusive lens that considers all functions of the business, then you're missing out on real change for your organization. Here are some questions you can ask to identify blind spots and look inward.
Who are your vendors? Are you doing business with people who are different than yourself? To what degree are your products and customer service experience aware of those who you're serving? Have you built your customer service story or your user experience based on a certain assumption of identity? Does your organization represent at all levels those who you serve and seek to serve? So those are just some ways in which we can start introspecting.
Tip number 5, support your marginalized folks. Don't lean on them. One of the things we heard a lot in our roundtables is that executives are uneasy approaching marginalized groups within their organization. Love shares her perspective on this.
Do not make assumptions that Black and Indigenous people of color are going to do any heavy lifting. They are within your organizations, as experts for the reasons that you brought them in. They, on the other hand, need support because they probably have been bearing the brunt of a non-inclusive work environment until now. They have to probably appear optimistic. They have to maybe minimize their impatience and their fatigue so that they are not perceived as angry and they are not perceived as unforgiving.
If you're a manager or an HR professional, be sure to check in on Black, Indigenous, and people of color and give them mental health resources. The heightened awareness of diversity the world is currently experiencing can result in a lot of pressure. It's best to focus your energy on supporting these groups and not spotlighting them. Special thanks again to Love for speaking with us and facilitating our external roundtable discussions. If you'd like to learn more about her business, check out the link provided below. Thanks so much for watching.